Why do carbohydrates get a bad rap? They're such an important macronutrient, but you know how it is with some of the new diets out there. They make carbohydrates out to be the enemy, and they're not. Matter of fact, they're essential to your health, and it's a macronutrient that's one of the big three: protein, carbs, and fat. So we're going to go through. We did one on protein. We're going to dive a little bit deeper here. Try to keep it short because I hate long videos. We're going to try to embrace carbohydrates and get you to understand a little bit. Like I was kind of ignorant about a lot of things until I made this blog, which, by the way, is on RxHealthyHabits.com, and it's very detailed, and it's got links that are absolutely fantastic that goes through all the information I'm going to cover, but then so much more. So I'm just going to skim the surface because it's all there. Why should I just tell you stuff that you can just check out online, right? So think about protein that we talked about before as muscles and a lot of biological functions, enzymes, pH. But think of carbohydrates as energy, so and also as fiber, because we'll talk about how there's the two types. But there's simple and complex carbs when it comes to energy, when it comes to what your body's going to need for to run on. And trust me, people think they can go with no carbs. They're going to start breaking down fat, but they're also going to start breaking down muscle. You need to have carbs. The key is having a balance. And a lot of people, I think, especially American diet, I got to say, is way out of kilter with how many carbs, especially the simple carbs. I'm talking about the fast, high glycemic, processed foods, starches, pastas, breads, things that are fast, candy, sodas, all those, sucrose. But you can have those, and you should not deny yourself having some simple carbs. Hey, they taste great, right? You should do that. You should just have a balance. I want to go through and talk about the physiology. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but there's the structures of the sugars there's monosaccharides, and that's going to be your glucose, galactose, fructose, and then there's also disaccharides. Those are a little different, but that's going to be your sucrose, your lactose. There's oligosaccharides, that's maltodextrins and raffinose, if I said that right. Then there's polysaccharides. These are the long chain, and these are going to be amylose and cellulose. Now, simple carbs, examples. This is going to be fructose, your lactose, your glucose, your sucrose. That's going to be candy, carbonated beverages, corn syrup, fruit juices. Complex carbs. Now, these are going to be the oligosaccharides and the polysaccharides. This is going to be where it's going to be a little slower and have a gradual effect on blood sugar. And that's going to include some things in there like cellulose, amylose, so apples, broccoli, lentils, spinach. Starches are another one when it comes to carbohydrates. These are more complex, but these are complex carbs, but they're also very fast carbs. So here you're talking about things like potatoes, chickpeas, pasta, wheat, so flour, right? People don't realize this. I didn't realize this till I did this. You got to remember that fiber is a carbohydrate. Insoluble ones stay in your intestinal tract, and of course that helps with a lot of symptoms that people have. But you can get these from bran seeds, vegetables, brown rice, and potato skins. But basically, the insoluble fibers are the ones that you really want to have. But also, there's ones called soluble fibers, and that's where you can decrease your blood glucose levels. And it helps really with some of the constipation. So fresh fruit, oats, broccoli, dried beans. So I hope some of that makes sense when it comes to types of carbohydrates out there, and simple versus complex. Now let's go through and talk about trying to get a really balanced diet with carbohydrates. And again, you want to be thinking about whole foods. Now whole foods are always the best to go, and especially not how we process or how we refine. But let's go through one carbohydrate choice, or 15 grams of carbohydrate, which if you multiply that, right, by 4, that'll tell you how many calories, right? But a bagel, just 1/4, has 15 grams of carbohydrate. That's 1/4 of a bagel. Isn't that crazy? I didn't know that. Some good things out there. Granola, everybody says, oh, granola is so good for you. Well, granola, 15 grams in just 1/4 cup. That's kind of surprising, isn't it? So I'm not trying to just trash these. I'm just trying to give an idea how something we tend to overeat and underestimate. A potato 1/4 large with a skin on it is going to be 15 grams. So 1/4 of a big potato. You think about things like pretzels, just 3/4 of an ounce of pretzels, 8 crackers, and you're already over your limit, right? So when you get into fruits, here's where you can, this is some of the more complex. These are going to be good because they also have some fiber in them, but you got blueberries, you got some grapes, melon, maybe not so much fiber in some of these, but you got, you can have a 1 1/4 cup of strawberries. That's quite a bit, right? So kind of cool. Milk and milk substitutes, sometimes people don't think about that, but I didn't know this, but yogurt, just 2/3 of a cup, is a lot more carbohydrates than I thought I was getting. I thought I was getting more protein. So candy, just a 2-inch square, 15 grams of carbs, so just a small little piece of chocolate. So I went through this list, and I'm going to recommend, I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Go on the website and go to RxHealthyHabits.com, but go to the section on macronutrients and really read up on that, because you will be blown away. There's also something really cool in there. It's a test that you can do to see if you can place where the food goes. I thought that was really neat. And that also in there's something that I didn't know about with the glycemic index, just how I was off base on a lot of food. And that's when I did the test in there, and I was blown away how cool it was. So last thing about carbs, and we're going to land this plane. Fiber. So that's your nature's digestive hero, and I think when it comes to carbohydrates, insoluble, soluble fibers, it's really going to cut down on your caloric intake if you get a lot of these. But a lot of people sometimes miss this. It's something they really want to incorporate when it comes to carbohydrates, because people don't think things like broccoli or Brussels sprouts or some of that is carbohydrates, but they are. Remember your plate. You want to have half of it be vegetables or fruit, 1/4 of it be your starch, and 1/4 of it be your protein. About 5 ounces, right, for your protein. So if you go through and take a look at this, they really do a great job, Cleveland Clinic, about talking about what's the recommended amount of carbohydrates per day. They go through your plate, like I just talked about, but they go through and talk a lot about what's the best source to get your fiber. And I know this. I know without my lettuce, my peas, snow peas, my nuts, whole grains. Whole grains are really good for fiber. Your vegetables sometimes, there's so many of them that are so vital. But I think people underestimate when you go to get your carbohydrates. You are getting carbohydrates when you eat some of this, but you're also getting a lot of the fiber. So carbohydrates, not the villain. They actually are the hero, especially the complex carbs and the fiber. They're your hero. And without this, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a real tough road. So carbohydrates, I love them. I just have to keep them in balance, because if it was up to me, I'd be eating a lot of bread and pastas and white rice and things like that, and I love that. But now it's just a small part of what I consume, because I try to get more protein, and I try to make sure I'm getting my healthy fats, which we'll talk about next. So until next video podcast, stay healthy, get stronger, and really trying to find a way to balance and embrace carbohydrates in your life, because I'll tell you what, when you got the right balance of carbs, protein, and fat, and you're getting your macros from those, you may not need to really be taking a lot of the supplements like they promote on TV. I get a kick out of those sometimes. If somebody ate a balanced diet, especially whole foods, they're probably going to get a lot of their micros from the macros. So hope that helps. And as always, again, come to our website, but get on our weekly email list, RX Healthy Habits. We send out a weekly email with all this is embedded. There's videos in there. It's fantastic. So until next time.